This is the story of a prophet whose name was Zarathustra. When our main character was 30, he left his home and retreated into the mountains, where he stayed in solitude for 10 years, reaching enlightenment. Until one morning his heart turned, as the sun rose, and he spoke to him, inspiringly. "You great star, what would your happiness be if you had not those for whom you shine? For 10 years you have come up here to my cave. You would have tired of your light, and of this route without me, my eagle, and my snake. But we awaited you every morning, took your overflow from you and blessed you for it. Behold, I am weary of my wisdom, like a bee that has gathered too much honey. I need hands that reach out. Like you, I must go down as the human beings say, to whom I want to descend. Zarathustra has chosen to come down to the world and share his wisdom, just like the setting sun brings light to the underworld. I want to bestow and distribute until the wise among human beings have once again enjoyed their folly, and the poor once again their wealth. For this, I must descend into the depths, as you do evenings when you go behind the sea and bring light even to the underworld, you super-rich star." Lastly, Zarathustra asks for the sun's blessing on his journey. Bless the cup that wants to flow over, such that water flows golden from it, and everywhere carries the reflection of your bliss. Behold, this cup wants to become empty again, and Zarathustra wants to become human again. On his way down from the mountains, Zarathustra came to the woods where no one was nearby. Suddenly, an old man shows up. The old man recognized Zarathustra by saying, "This wanderer is no stranger to me. Many years ago he passed by here. Zarathustra he was called, but he is transformed. Back then you carried your ashes to the mountain. Would you now carry your fire into the valley? Do you not fear the arsonist's punishment?" Yes, I recognize Zarathustra. His eyes are pure, and no disgust is visible around his mouth. Does he not stride like a dancer? Zarathustra is transformed. Zarathustra has become a child. An awakened one is Zarathustra. The saint emphasized. The old man asks Zarathustra what business he has with mankind. "I love mankind," Zarathustra replies, adding that he's bringing his overflowing wisdom as a gift. The saint warns him that people won't accept it kindly. Instead, they'll ridicule and hate him. To them, our footsteps sound too lonely in the lanes. And if at night, lying in their beds, they hear a man walking outside, long before the sun rises, they probably ask themselves, "Where's the thief going?" Do not go to mankind and stay in the woods. Go even to the animals instead. Why do you not want to be like me, a bear among bears, a bird among birds?" warned the saint. Zarathustra asks the saint what someone like him is doing in the woods. The old man answered, "I make songs and sing them, and when I make songs I laugh, weep, and growl. Thus I praise God." Undeterred by the warnings, Zarathustra persists in his mission, determined to share his wisdom with mankind. Now the time was to say goodbye. The saint and Zarathustra parted ways while laughing like two boys. Back again in solitude, Zarathustra shockingly said, "Could it be possible? This old saint in his woods has not yet heard the news that God is dead." At last, Zarathustra arrives at the nearest town where a tightrope walker is scheduled to perform, where he has drawn a crowd for his show. Zarathustra seizes the opportunity to address the crowd about the concept of the Overman, or Übermensch. "I teach you the Superman. Man is something that should be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? All creatures hitherto have created something beyond themselves. And do you want to be the ebb of this great tide, and return to the animals rather than overcome man?" Nietzsche implies that evolution isn't driven solely by random mutations and adaptations, but by a purposeful force guiding life's development from a lower spiritual state to a higher one. This force is experienced by humans as an aspiration, and by embracing it, humans can transcend themselves and experience evolution. The teachings of the Christian Church repress this aspiration by spreading the idea that to seek autonomy and act in the service of one's self-interest is a sin. This concept was based on the idea of an afterlife, but Zarathustra tells the crowd to remain in the present moment. I beseech you, my brothers, remain faithful to the earth and do not believe those who speak to you of extraterrestrial hopes. They are mixers of poisons, whether they know it or not. They are despisers of life, dying off and self-poisoned, of whom the earth is weary, so let them fade away. As such, animalistic impulses such as sexual lust, pride, and the desire for power were branded as evil elements to be tamed and eradicated. The individual was taught by the Christian Church not to overcome himself, but to deny himself, and to weaken his body for the sake of his soul. Once the sacrilege against God was the greatest sacrilege, but God died, and then all these desecrators died. Now to desecrate the earth is the most terrible thing, and to esteem the bowels of the unfathomable higher than the meaning of the earth. Once the soul gazed contemptuously at the body, and then such contempt was the highest thing. It wanted the body gaunt, ghastly, starved. Thus it intended to escape the body and the earth. Oh, this soul was gaunt, ghastly and starved, and cruelty was the lust of this soul. Zarathustra urges humanity to embrace self-actualization and bodily strength, heralding the arrival of the Superman. As Zarathustra metaphorically links man's evolution to a tightrope walker navigating danger, he underscores the necessity of living boldly, taking risks and embracing self-transformation. Only by transcending comfort and embracing risk can humanity fulfill its potential, becoming the precursor of a new era symbolized by the Superman. When Zarathustra finishes his speech, the crowd just laughs. "There they stand," he said to his heart. "They laugh. They do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears." Must one first smash their ears so that they learn to hear with their eyes? Must one rattle like kettle drums and penitence preachers? Or do they believe only a stutterer? They have something of which they are proud. And what do they call that which makes them proud? Education, they call it. It distinguishes them from goat herds. For that reason, they hate to hear the word contempt applied to them. So I shall address their pride instead. Enters the last man. Zarathustra changes his speech to a somber tone that aims at the pride of the crowd. He introduces the crowd to the most contemptible person, the last man. He warns that the Western world is in decline, and this decline is breeding a kind of humans that is ineradicable. The last man lives the longest. But there is still time. Just like the concept from Chinese philosophy, the yin-yang. Like two opposite forces, one needs to have chaos to breed greatness. It is time for man to fix his goal. It is time for man to plant the seed of his highest hope. His soil is still rich enough for it. But this soil will one day be poor and weak. No longer will a high tree be able to grow from it. I tell you, one must have chaos in one to give birth to a dancing star. I tell you, you still have chaos in you. Alas, the time is coming when man will give birth to no more stars. Behold, I shall show you the last man. With no aspirations for himself, the last man finds it burdensome being poor or rich. He lives in complacency and comfort and indulges in pleasures. He finds it is a lot of work to find even contempt for himself. His longing to overcome himself is no longer there, forgetting what having a desire to improve feels like. The time of the most contemptible human is coming, the one who can no longer have contempt for himself. In reference to ancient Chinese philosophy, it could be said that the two opposing forces of yin-yang are no longer in harmony. One side has fully taken over, and without chaos, the soil of man grew poorer and weaker. The last man specializes in consumption and not in creation. He has nothing that can justify pain and struggle, no reason there is to overcome himself and evolve. Despite his confront and pleasures, the last man is miserable and cannot bear others flourishing. Thus, the last man supports the de-individualization of mankind, where everybody is equal. One no longer becomes poor and rich. Both are too burdensome. Who wants to rule anymore? Who wants to obey anymore? Both are too burdensome. No shepherd and one herd. Each wants the same, each is the same, and whoever feels differently goes voluntarily into the insane asylum. As he finishes his speech, the crowd mocks Zarathustra. Make us into this last man. You can have the Superman. Zarathustra realizes that most people lack the capacity to grasp the meaning behind his words. Then, he realizes rather than share his gifts with mankind, he will share his wisdom with individuals that have the potential to rise above the herd. Departing towards his new journey, Zarathustra hears the cry of a bird. He gazes toward the sky as the sun reaches its zenith. An eagle soars in wide circles through the air, with a snake coiled around the eagle's neck, not as prey, but as a friend. "These are my creatures," exclaimed Zarathustra, his heart filled with joy. "The proudest and wisest creatures under the sun, venturing forth to survey. They seek to ascertain if Zarathustra still walks among the living. Do I indeed still live? I have found it more perilous among humans than among animals. Zarathustra treads treacherous paths. May my creatures be my guides." After uttering these words, Zarathustra recollected the saint's words from the woods, heaved a sigh, and spoke thus to his inner self. "Grant me wisdom. Let me be as wise from the very foundation, like my snake. Yet I ask for the impossible. Instead, I beseech that my pride always accompany my wisdom. And should the day arrive when wisdom deserts me, it has a penchant for departing. Let my pride then depart alongside my foolishness." I thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, leave us a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Leave us a comment. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and points of view.